The rain was coming down in sheets, mirroring the storm inside me. I was sitting in my car, parked a block away from what used to be our home, our sanctuary. Now it was just a house filled with lies and the ghost of a life I thought I knew. My name is Silas, and until a few weeks ago I was a moderately successful architect in Boston. I designed buildings, structures meant to stand the test of time, built on solid foundations. Irony, isn't it? My own foundation had crumbled to dust. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Lyra, my wife of 15 years, began working later. She's a cardiologist, so long hours weren't unusual, but there was a different quality to her absence. A guardedness. A coolness that hadn't been there before. I chalked it up to stress, the pressures of her job. I tried to be supportive, making dinner when she worked late, running errands, just trying to ease her burden. Then came the phone calls. Late at night, she'd step out onto the porch, her voice hushed, almost a whisper. When I asked who it was, she'd brush it off. "Just work," she'd say, her eyes darting away. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. But the doubts were starting to creep in, insidious little tendrils wrapping around my heart. One evening, I decided to surprise her at the hospital. I brought her favorite coffee and a pastry from that little bakery she loved. I walked into her office expecting to find her buried in paperwork. Instead, I found her in the arms of another man, Dr. Theron, a new attending physician. They were locked in a passionate embrace, oblivious to the world around them, oblivious to me, the world tilted on its axis. The coffee cup slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. The sound seemed to echo in the sudden silence. Lyra gasped, pulling away from Theron, her face a mask of shock and guilt. Theron, on the other hand, just looked annoyed. "Silas," Lyra stammered, her voice trembling. "It's not what you think, really, because it looks an awful lot like you're cheating on me," I said, my voice dangerously low. The rage was building inside me, a volcanic eruption waiting to happen. I can explain," she said, taking a step towards me. "Explain what, Lyra? Explain how you could betray me like this. After 15 years, after everything we've built together." My voice cracked, the pain cutting through the anger. Theron stepped forward, his eyes narrowed. "Look, pal, this is a private matter. Maybe you should just leave." I wanted to hit him. I wanted to wipe that smug look off his face, but I couldn't. I was frozen, paralyzed by the shock and the betrayal. "I'm leaving," I said, turning to Lyra. "But not just the office. I'm leaving you." I walked out, leaving the shattered coffee cup and the shattered remains of my marriage behind me. I drove home in a daze, the rain blurring the city lights. I packed a bag, grabbed a few essentials, and left. I couldn't stay in that house, not with the memories, not with the lies. I spent the next few weeks in a cheap motel trying to make sense of what had happened. The anger was slowly replaced by a deep, gnawing sadness. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I just replayed the scene in my head over and over again. My friend Anselm tried to be supportive. He'd call every day, check in on me, try to get me out of the motel room. "You can't let this destroy you, Silas," he'd say. "You're a good man, you deserve better." One day Anselm suggested I hire a private investigator. "Find out what's really going on, Silas," he said. "You deserve to know the truth." I was hesitant at first. I didn't want to delve deeper into the mess. But Anselm was right. I needed to know. I needed closure. I hired a private investigator named Wilfred. He was a gruff, no-nonsense type, but he seemed competent enough. I gave him Lyra's information and told him what I suspected. A week later, Wilfred called me. "I've got something for you, Silas," he said, his voice grim. "It's not good." I met him at a coffee shop downtown. He handed me a thick envelope filled with photos and documents. I opened it, my hands trembling. The photos showed Lyra and Theron together. Not just at the hospital, but at restaurants, hotels, even Lyra's apartment. They were clearly having an affair. But that wasn't the worst of it. The documents revealed something far more sinister. Theron had a history of affairs with married women. He was a predator, a manipulator. And Lyra was just another victim. But there was something else, something that made my blood run cold. Theron had been siphoning money from the hospital's research fund, using it to fund his lavish lifestyle. And Lyra was helping him. I was stunned. Lyra, the woman I thought I knew, was involved in fraud and embezzlement. How could she do this? I confronted her. I showed her the evidence. She denied it at first, but when she realized I had proof, she broke down. "I didn't mean for it to happen, Silas," she sobbed. I was vulnerable. Theron, he was so charming, so attentive. He made me feel alive again, alive. What about me, Lyra? Didn't I make you feel alive? I asked, my voice filled with pain. It's not like that, she said. I still love you, Silas. I made a mistake. A mistake. This is more than a mistake, Lyra. You cheated on me, you lied to me, and you helped a criminal steal money from the hospital. How can I ever trust you again? I walked away, knowing that there was no going back. Our marriage was over, irrevocably broken. I turned the evidence over to the authorities. Theron was arrested and charged with fraud and embezzlement. Lyra was also charged as an accomplice. The trial was a media circus. The details of the affair and the fraud were splashed across the newspapers and television screens. I became a reluctant celebrity, the wronged husband. After the trial, I moved away from Boston. I needed a fresh start, a chance to rebuild my life. I bought a small house in a quiet town in Vermont. I started my own architecture firm focusing on sustainable design. It was a slow process, but I was healing. One day, I received a letter from Lyra. She was in prison serving a 5-year sentence. She apologized for everything she had done. She said she understood if I never wanted to see her again. I thought about it for a long time. I wasn't sure if I could ever forgive her, but I knew I couldn't hold on to the anger and resentment forever. It was poisoning me. I wrote her back. I told her that I forgave her, not for her sake, but for mine. I told her that I hoped she could find peace in prison, and that one day she could rebuild her life too. I never saw her again, but I did find peace. I learned that betrayal can shatter you, but it can also make you stronger. I learned that forgiveness is not about excusing the actions of others, but about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. I'm still an architect. I still design buildings that are meant to stand the test of time. But now I also know that the strongest foundations are not made of stone and steel, but of resilience, forgiveness, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of a new beginning. The rain has stopped now. The sun is starting to peek through the clouds. A new day, a new life.